Alright, Chapter 7, Editing Solids and Surfaces. Autodesk AutoCAD 2013 Practical 3D Drafting and Design. Chapter 7, Editing solids and surfaces is an important part of a 3D project. Combine solve with the editing solve with the surfaces, and among other useful commands, we can union, subtract, intersect, cut 3D objects, as well as applying village, chamfer, object edges, and chamfer. We present all main commands, editing solids and surfaces, topics covered in this chapter as follows: applying union, subtraction, intersection, cutting, dividing 3D objects, filtering, chamfer, edges, editing face to edge volumes of solids, creating copies and offsets of the edge from edges, projecting objects and 3D objects, and adding thickness to the surface. Composite objects. Until now, we dealt with creation of 3D objects. Now let's see how to combine and modify them. Union, subtraction, intersection. Three basic operations combine objects. Union, subtractions, and intersections. These called Boolean operations can be applied to solids and surface regions. The command to perform these union, subtraction, intersections can be found on the ribbon, home, solid, editing panel, model, tooling bar, on the menu bar, home, modifying solid editing. The union command, and alias uni, joins two or more objects into one. The command can be applied to solid surfaces of the region, but only objects of the same type. That is, can join solid surfaces of the region. This only prompts for the selection object to join and return only one object. Command union object selection, selected object selection. Duplicated volumes are removed. The command can be applied to solids and does not share common value of the regions. They do not share common area. In this case, we get one object despite having separated volumes. Area is not possible. 3D mesh upon selection of the command prompt the conversion of solid surfaces. No, the application union surface is minimum interest if we can, in case we need to perform operations. Surfaces serve the command presented in Chapter 12. Meshes and surfaces are more useful. The subtract command. The subtract command, alias SU, allows you to subtract volume of other subjects and first set of objects. The command applied to solids and surfaces of the regions does not work with objects different type. The command returns a single object and starts prompting the first set of objects. Command select subject. Select object surface of the regions, subtract from, select objects and selection. This prompts the second selection object. The volume set will be, then it prompts you for the second set of option. This volume set will be removed from the first. The second surface of the regions to subtract the objects in selection. Since version 2.10, this command allows subtracting coplanar surfaces, also subtracting solid to a surface. Applying a command to subtracting non-coplanar surface the result of the erasing of the second set surface if not happens to the first set. Applying the command to subtract non-coplanar planar surface the results erasing second set of surface not happens to the first set. The intersect command. Intersect command, alias IN, allows the intersection of objects applied with a solid, returns the common volume, applies the region coplanar surface, returns common area, applying the intersect non-planar surface, returns the intersecting spline. The command just prompts for the selection of objects and returns the only one object. Intersect selecting objects and selection. No, if there's no common value, the command returns no object but erases the original object. If you want to create a volume corresponding with the intersecting objects but want to maintain the original, we should apply the interfere command, which will be presented in the next chapter. Editing composite objects. Are some of the conditions we are able to modify with the original component of the composite object? The composite object obtained by union, subtraction, intersection have the recorded history that is kept in track with the original components. We may edit them with modifying these components. The record history have access to the original components. We may select the solids to combine history to record on the properties palette. By default, all the second solids do not record history. If we want all solids to record history upon their creation, we have to change the solid history variable to 1. By default, it is 0. To select a component, we press the critical key, click the surface at the edge of the composed of the component we want to modify, then can use the grips properties of palette and some of the editing commands, such as the move of the 3D move to edit the component in the composite object updates immediately. To show history variables specify the component objects displayed even if we don't select them with the control key. with value 2. Component objects are always displayed with value 1. Depends on the individual properties of the value 0, then never displayed. Note, the need changing for the components are rare. Normally, we do not maintain history records, decreasing memory consumption. The BREP command. The BREP command or no alias allows removing the history record addition through grips of the properties palettes of the object with respect to the only prime selection of the composite solid primitive solids obtained from linear objects. All selected solids become generic 3D solids. Exercise 371. We are completing the housing initiative of the Chapter 4, creating solids and surfaces 2D, opening the A3D 0701, drawing the drawing containing the solids over the one floor, created with the 2D drawing with a guide view of the selected all of the object front view, accessible by a view cube of the another process of the unite all walls and solids above the doors, apply with the unit command, selecting all 18 solids on the 3D walls by opening a rectangular from the right to the left, the crossing above the windows and below the upper slab. We apply the subtract and select the object wall, then present and enter to the all. We apply subtract to select all object walls. Press enter and select all windows from left to right. Include all the windows completely. Orbiting eventually hiding this upper slab, we can verify the model correction. Save the drawing and write the name A3D 0701 final. Exercise 72. We're going to continue the cathedral applying the same to the unit of subtraction. Open the AD 3D 0702 drawing. Drawing contains primitive solids, creating the exercise 5-4. Chapter 5 3D primitive conversions. Apply a union command. Select all the boxes, 2 pyramids of the rear, cylindrical cone, and torus. All these objects become a single one, and create the buttress. Apply with the subtract command. Select all the 6 layer wedges present with the enter of the key. Select the 6 smaller wedges and resolve the single object. All buttress will be needed, we don't need these in separate objects. And then we save the drawing while the name is A3D 0702 final drawing. Later we will cut the summit and make a hole in the big block. Alright, cutting objects. So we need to cut 3D objects. Here's a command with the performance of the step of the project geometry command, presented later in this chapter, although not being in the main function also of the cutting of 3D objects. Cutting solids and surfaces. Here's must be used with the command of the cut solids and surfaces. The slice command. The slice command alias SL allows you to cut solids and surfaces by a plane and existing surfaces, which can maintain both parts, and selecting one, which can also access the command with the ribbon home solid editing on the menu bar, modifying solid editing. We strip the command selecting the object to cut, command slice, select object to slice and selection. You find the 2 cutting plane by default, the define vertical cutting plane specified with the 2 points. Specify the point of the slicing plane, planar object, surface z-axis, view, x, y, y, z, z-x, or 3 points, point. Specify second point on the lane point. Then we specify the point indicating the part where we want to maintain. Specify the point with the desired side, with the keep both sides with the both point. Alright, several useful options are available for this command. Planar object. For the cutting plane is defined with the planar object to be selected with the circle, elliptic, with the arc of the 2D spline or 2D polyline. And surfaces option allows you to specify the non-planar cutting object selected surfaces for the most intersecting whole objects to be sliced. Z-axis cutting line is defined with the point of the plane. The second point of the specified the normal of the plane. The view of the cutting plane parallel to the current view of the passes through a point to be specified. Z, X, Y, Z, Y, X, Z, X. The cutting plane is parallel to Z, X, Y, Z, Y, Z, X. Plane that passes through a point to be specified. Alright, and this shows your X, Y, Y, Z, and Z, X. 3-point cutting line is defined with the 3 non-linear points to be specified with both the prompt of the pointing of the specified with the part to maintain with the options allowing and maintain part with this by side parts side by side. Alright, exercise 7.3. When cutting in the summit of the cathedral, opening drawing A3D 0703 drawing, zoom in the sphere with apply the splice commands to it and specify the XY cutting plane with a pass through the center to define a point above the plan to maintain the top hemisphere. See with the drawing name of the A3D 0703 final drawing. Later we will finish this building. Fillet and chamfering. 2 frequent operations in modeling 3D rounding and chamfering edges. Applying fillets to round up the fillet edges, we have the two commands. The first one was well known from the 2D. The fillet command with the alias F beside the fillet. A two linear object with the 2D allows you to fillet round edges, solid surface will select with the solid and surface edge of the command change with the usual prompt at the top of the 3D. Fillet 3D, the command surface display with the information for the current setting with the only important 2D prompt is the selection with the first object. Fillet current settings, mode, trim, radius. Select first object, undo polyline radius, trim multiple edge selections on which select solid surface edge of the command that does not prompt the second object. Set it prompts for the radius, enter for radius and expression value. After we click all the edges to be filleted one by one, only one from the selected solid surface edge, but only one from the selected surface edge picked for the object selection already belongs to the selection. After its selection, all edges are filleted and the command displays the information. Select edge and chain loop or radius edge selection for edge selection or for fillet. And then it shows the fillet on the bottom of the radius. Note the edge's internal fillet adds material, the external fillet removes the material. Note if the edge is internal, the fillet adds material. If the edge is external, the fillet remove the material. Alright, options. 3D, chain. With this option, we can click the edge with all the tangent edges also selected. They cannot exist at any corners. Edge, the option replaces a chain or loop. If one of those modes activated, it allows us to return back to an individual selection. Loop, this option allows the sequence edges, not even non-tangible, as an edges shared with the two faces, and prompts you accept the highlighted faces, choose next. Radius, we can change with the radius to apply with the next selected edges. It is possible to apply with a different radius with only one command. Fillet edge command, and then I'm going to pause the tape there. Alright, your fillet edge command. The fillet edge command, no alias, is available since version 2011. The reference of the dynamic way of filleting edge. There's an icon with a command, the solid editing toolbar, ribbon solid editing. This command cannot be applied to surfaces that does not allow application with a different radius within the same command. The command display with the current default radius prompt, the edge selection with the repeated with the use the entered and press of the preview is applied with the model. Command fillet edge radius default selection edge chain loop and radius selection. Select edge of the chain loop radius selection. Two edges selected for fillet. Solid display transparent. We press enter to select the grip default radius. Apply the radius option. Click and drag the small triangular grip to dynamically specify the radius. To press enter to accept the fillet and radius or grip dragging. Specify radius or exit. And finally, we press enter the command. Press enter to accept the fillet and the radius of the enter. The options of the command are similar with the same option the previously command chain, is which the option selection of the chain. Clicking on edges on all tangent edges are also selected. All corners stops the selection. Edge replaces chain and loop. This, if one of these modes is activated, allows you to turn back individual selection. Your loop. The option allows you to sequence edges that even not tangible, even as edges are shown by two faces of the prompt, except the highlighted face of the two for the next radius. We change the default radius all selected edges. The fillet radius 3D variable keeps the last used radius for this, and surface fillet command and preview creation transparency variable controls for the preview transparency. Note fillet commands have two important advantages. Impossible to apply with a different radius of the same application. Avoiding dynamism is faster. Alright, applying chamfers. Instead of the round edges is almost commonly found with the cut edge of the engineering architect with the two commands for the task of the first well-known 2D. The chamfer command. With the chamfer command, alias SCHA, beside the application 2D, allows the chamfering edge for the solid and for the effect of the scan applying with the diagonal cut. Instead of the radius when filleting, you must specify the two distances that may be different due to the width. 3D must select the base surface of the wedge for the first distance is applied. Can only chamfer edges on the surface. We select the edge of the solid surface and the command displays the different options starting with the selection of the base surface. Command chamfer the trim mode, current chamfer the distance and the distance 2. Select first line or undo polyline distance angle trim method multiple selection base surface selection. As selected edge is shared by two surfaces, we have to specify with which base surface is used by next or OK options. Enter surface selection option next or OK or current. Enter surface selection, extra OK, or current enter. We specify the chamfer distance measured along with the base surface chamfer distance expression value. Specify the chamfer distance measured along with the surface and default equals preview the distance. Specify the other surface chamfer distance expression as default value. Now we select the edge and chamfer one by one. The edges used for the object selection is not automatically part of the selection. Select edge or loop selection, and then it goes and then it shows you that only two options are available for this command loop. The option allows you selecting sequence of the edges just by selecting one, and the edge option replaces the loop. It allows you to turn back to an individual selection. If you want to apply chamfer, the other edges belong to the base surface of the not belonging to the base surface. We need to specify different distances. We have to end and apply the command again. Chamfer edge command. As with the Phyllis, we set the second command to apply chamfer, this one being with the dynamic. Chamfer edge is the command, no alias, is available since version 2011. Represents the dynamic way of chamfering edge. There's icon command with a solid editing toolbar, ribbon to solid and solid editing. This command cannot be applied with the surfaces of the command displayed with the current default distance of the prompts and edge of the selection on the same face. It is repeated until pressing enter. Preview is applied with the model. Command chamfer any distance, default distance to default. Select an edge, loop distance. Select another edge on the same face of the loop or distance selection, and then once you've selected all your edges, it's an enter. The solid display transparently with the present X up the default distance of the distance option. Click, drag, and small triangular grips. Dynamically specify the distance. Press enter for the accept the chamfer the distance with gripping, dragging. Specify the distance or exit. We press enter end of the command. Press or enter to accept the chamfer the distance and enter. These options, command and similar previous command loops, of the option allows you the sequence edges, even ones with the non-tangible edges shared by two faces of the prompt. You accept the highlighted face and choose not. In distance, we change the default with the distance preview, creation, transparency, variable to control with the preview, transparency. No chamfer command. The two important advantages of the possible to apply different distances, same application, avoiding dynamism and faster. Alright, exercise 7-4. We're going to fill it with the chamfer that's on the edge of the bathtub. I'm following drawing A30704. Drawing, I'll fill the command with a radius of the 0.003 to all edges coming from the smaller box. We'll subtract the bottom edge of the ply with the chamfer the command with the distance of the 0.505 and 0.1. Loop option as always is an easy way to select all four edges. Finally, apply the fill command to the all exterior edge of the vertical edge of the sign with the radius of 0.06. Save the drawing as A3D0704 final drawing. Editing solid and surfaces. There are prompts to edit solids and surface, namely changing parameter of the property of the quick properties palettes and solid edit to command several useful options. Changing parameters. After solid surface creation, it is very easy to change the parameters with the property of the quick properties palette. With the properties command, alias control 1, only one of the most useful AutoCAD. It is also excellent modifying parameters that define the solid and surface command with the display of the floating palette can always be visible with the display of the parameters of the properties of the selected object. Select as solid, and there are three panels related to the 3D, namely 3D visualization, geometry, solid history. The first one includes the material shadow display. One important with the rendering. Last one includes the history of the parameters of the composite object. As in 2D, under geometry, we can verify with the modifying all relevant parameters of solid surface selected by selecting a surface besides visualization geometry. Two additional panels available, namely surface of the associated and trims, where we can control associated between surfaces with the original lines and trims applied to the surfaces. And then show the easiest method to work with the properties palette is if there's no space in the drawing area, maintain a visibility to apply control 1 to turn it on and off. Control 1 actually calls the property of the properties closed command depending on the pilot visibility. Quick Properties Command. Quick Properties Command is QP, also displayed with the property palette, but one with consider the most important parameters of the near the object. For the most object, for the same can display with the double clicking over the object. Another way to apply with the Quick Properties palette is to turn the QP Quick Properties button on the status bar or press Control-Shift-T, which mode activated is enough to select an object without command with the palette isn't immediately displayed. Note, if possible, to configure the parameter display with each for the object type with the CU I command with the quick properties item, the shortcut item to the top right button, the customize with the palettes where you're driven into the property quick property object. operation with the face of the edge volume of the solid. When dealing with solid, they frequently need the modify face of the edge of the volume. Solid edit command. No alias allows you to modify face of the edge volumes. The here called bodies and with solids. To apply this command, the use is faster. Use the solid editing toolbar on the ribbon. Home solid editing. We jump directly into what we wanted. So you'd have your bodies, which come separate, clean, and shell, and check. Extrude, taper, home, move, then copy with the offset face, delete faces, rotate, plant paces, and color paces. Extreme edge and then color edge and copy. The interaction command start with the displaying with the verification solid accuracy is turned on. Solid check is variable. Command solid editing automatically check solid check 1. Next, the main command option display to undo last command option exit command end of this command. Remaining options are presented next. The enter the solid ending option face edge body undo exit and exit option. The face option. Upon entering face option, we have several additional options for the undo to the last apply of the option, exit, return to the previous level. When selecting face of the undo and remove the options available, allows you to undo the last selection operation or enter the mode to remove faces from the selection. Interface with editing option, extrude, move the rotate, offset of the tape, to delete with a copy color material U, undo, exit, or exit option. Note we must be careful when selecting faces. It will click and edge both faces share the edge are selected. The options are as follows. Extrude. The option allows you to extrude the faces prompt with the face of the selection of the height of the extrusion, with the angle of the tape of the extrusion, positive value of the height adds volume, with the negative value remove the volume. Angle not equal to 0 allows you to tape the newer volume. Move option allows you to move the faces after selecting its prompts for the displacement of the instance of 2 points, similar to move command. Alright, rotate. This option allows you to rotate face of the after selection prompt for the axis, rotation angle, the rotation direction, axis for the rotation default, with a specified with a 2 point with additional option that allows you with the existing object to define its axis parallel X, Y, and Z axis with a current user current coordinate system. Alright, offset. The option allowed with the offsetting of the face for the creation of the parallel face. After selection prompt, the offset of the distance. Positive value enters the volume of the negative value. Remove the volume and the selection continuous face of the instance of the common edge. Face of the edge extend so that their corner is uncorrected. Taper. This option allows you to taper the faces of the after selecting prop with the 2 points for the define the taper axis of the taper angle with the positive values end of the selection. Reduce with negative values and in selection section is increased. Delete. This option allows you to delete faces of the Autocad and now have to fill spaces. Faces will be deleted. Copy. The copy option allows you to copy the face region created all of the planar faces surface created with all curved faces after selection and is prompted to 2 pace point to define the displacement. Color. This option allows you to change color selected face after the selection. Show the selecting for the color dialog. Show the color of the apply material. The option allowed with the application material selected faces. In the rendering, we have the different materials applied with a single object after the selection prompt with the name of the material to apply. This option has no icon. The color and material options have a limited utility to apply materials to faces. There are other possibilities for which you don't need to type the material name. The edge option. Choosing the edge option, besides undo and exit commit options, we have 2 or more options. We select the undo or remove the option for the available that allows you to undo the last section selection operation. Entering the mode of remove edges from selection. Entering an angle edge of the editing option color copy color undo or exit option copy. This option allows you to copy the edges depending on the selected edges of the arcs, circles, ellipses, lines, splines are created. After selecting it, it prompts for 2 points that define the displacement. Color. This allows you to change the color selected edges after selection. Show for the selection color dialog box. Choose this color to apply. Alright, the body option. The body represents the volume of the solid. Besides undo and exit opposition, we have more options. Enter the body editing option. Imprint, separate, solid, shell, clean, check, undo, exit. Imprint. The imprint allows you to create edge of the interstack of the selected solids with the linear edge regions and solids. After one solid selection, if the prompts another object with imprint, this and the object is erased, and the next two prompts are repeated until the enter exit key is pressed. Separate solids. If one solid has the separate volumes, the option allows you to separate these volumes independent solids. The prompts only for a solid selection. The shell. This option allows you to create a hollow solid constant wall thickness evenly open through one or more faces. We can only apply this option once to a solid. After the solid selection, it prompts the selection of the face to remove, thus created with the open thin wall solid and the shell thickness of the positive thickness created with the shell on the inside, while the negative thickness creates a shell on the outside. Note, we must be careful of the option. Immediately after the solid selection, it prompts for face removal. If we press enter, we remove no faces. If we need some walls with a different thickness or after the shell, we may apply with the move of the extrude offset face option. Clean. This option allows you to remove redundant edges of vertexes, but does not remove edges coming from the imprint option. Check with this option verifies whether the solid is valid and prompts only for a solid selection. Alright, exercise 7-5, creating a building exterior lines, applying solid editing command, advisable using solid editing tool panel ribbon to access solid edit commands, opening drawing A3D 0705, drawing already in the 2D building contour, create and activate layer 3D building color at choice, use press pull clean, click inside area, specify 24 as the height with extrusion into the command, we get the volume of our building. To create the first slab of the roof, we copy the front horizontal face, we apply with the face copy option of the solid edit, and select with the top and bottom faces, and specify the displacement of 40 along the x-axis. Note, by using non-wireframe visual style, it's easy to select the top face's orbit, select bottom face, and if we accidentally select the vertical face, we may use the remove option. Create two layers, 3D slab, 3D roof colors or choice. Activate the first one. Apply with extrude command with the lower copied face with the height of -0.03. Active the 3D roof layer. Apply with extrude command with the upper copied face with the height of 15. With solid edit body shell and option, make them two main solid hollow and select for the solid. Remove the both horizontal and face and spread for the thickness of 0.3. With solid edit face offset option, offset the roof vertical face to the outside of the making an E with the easy select these faces and make O1 and apply all option, then remove the option to remove both horizontal faces to specify the offset value of 0.4. To finish the roof, they apply solid edit face taper option, select again all vertical face of the taper exit that's from the bottom vertex to the project upper vertex, specify the angle of 45. If it gives a modeling error, try another pair of vertexes, and then you'd have to make the roof hollow from the solid edit with the body shelling option. After selecting the roof, remove the bottom face with and press enter. Move the roof slab back into position and then displace 40 along the -3 axis. The other slab are shorter, so create one copy of the existing slab shorter, offsetting the vertical face of the grading of the remaining copy. Now copy the slab 3 units along the direction. Isolate the slab, select the right click, choose the isolate objects, then apply solid edit face offset option, offset all slab vertical faces, the value of -0.3 and isolation. Finally, copy the slab's level 7 more times of the same distance, 3 along the Z direction. The easiest way to apply is the copy command array option, 8 elements and a distance of 3. Save the drawing with the name A3D 0705, final drawing. Alright, creating linear objects from 3D. There are two commands to create linear objects from solid and soil solids or surface. Offset edge command, no alias available since the version 2012 allows us to create a polyline spline parallel to the edge of the planar face of the solid or surface of the by default command prompts of the face of the point where it will pass the new linear object. The command display with the default corner value prompt of the planar face section, offset edge sharp, corner sharp, surface face selection. Then the default prompt of the point where the new linear object will pass it. When outward and inwards related with the face edges, specify through point and distance or corner point. The face selection of the point prompts that are repeated until the enter of the exit key is pressed. Select face enter. The command following option of the distance, instead of specifying a point with the option prompts of the distance from which the side of the offset is made, with the corner offset with the outside of the edge of the option control that is resolved if the corners are sharp or rounded. In this case, the radius is equal to the distance. And that was the offset edge command. Surface extract curve command. The surface extract curve command has no alias, which is new in the version 2013. Allows us to obtain curves to isoline surface solids. New objects can be lines, arc, polyline, spline. The command surface of displaying default value of the chain option prompts the selection one surface solid and face. Command surface extract curve chain no. Select surface solid or face selection. Specify the point over the surface creates of the curve. The prompt is repeated until the command is ended. The extracting iso line curve view direction. Select point surface of chain direction spline. Chain direction or spline points, extraction, isoplane curve, view direction, select point, surface, chain direction, spline points, enter. The command has the following options. Chain, which is an option. ISO lines are also obtained with adjacent faces within the same direction. Direction allows use view chain with the direction ISO lines between U and V. Spline points, the option allows you to make points surfacing, creating the curve passing through all points. The curve does not respect the U and V direction. That was surface extraction curve. Note, in this version, the command has some weaknesses. It doesn't allow specifying points of the beak by coordinates. Projection, linear object. The two commands allow creating edge of the solid and surface of the project geometry command. Project geometry command, no alias, available since version 2011, allows you to project points, linear objects on solid surface. The project may cut through cut the solid surface of the command start with the display value with the surface auto trim. Variable prompt selection curves or points on the project command project geometry. Surface auto trim 0. Select surface point. Reprojection projection direction selection. After selection, object to be projected will select one solid surface or region. Select solid surface region for the target of the projection. Selection. Finally, we make a projection direction between the viewing direction and the current UCS, making 2 points, specifying the project direction, view, UCS, and points and view option. And then we have the command of the following options as well as projection direction. The option allows you to specify the projection direction, selecting the objects to project. No, surface auto trim variable specify the web of the object is trimmed to value 1 or not value 0. When applying this command, it must be set before the variable saved in this registry. The written surface of the object geometry provides direct access to the variable command options. The imprint command. The imprint command, no alias, allows you to create edge with the intersection of the solid surface, linear, and either the regions, and solid with the command is equivalent to the solid edit imprint option. The only difference being that imprint can also be used to apply to surfaces. Alright, exercise 7.6. When going to create a plastic part with the application last seen command, the opening drawing A3D0706 drawing is only composed with 2D polyline started with the orbiting model and moving the inner polyline 30 units along with the Z direction along the allowed to extrude the command with the outer polyline, a height of the extrusion of 5 with a fillet command around the bottom edge of the radius of 2, and the chain option can be used to select the edges. To create a small wall to the top part of the start of the edge of the offset edge of the selecting the top face of the distance open option value with a point with the inside with the polyline create with a distance of 3 units from the edge of the poly with the press pull command. Create the wall, specify a point between the edge and polyline height extrusion 10 before projecting smaller polylines. Verify that the surface auto trim variable is set to 1. Finally, apply projection geometry command selecting all small polylines from the solid with the UCS option. All polylines are projected onto the solid and cutting it in. We may erase to hide these small polylines. Save the drawing name as A3D0706 Final Drawing. Alright, editing surfaces. This command is very useful when it comes to assigning thickness to surfaces. The thickening command. Thickening command is no alias, allows you to apply thickness to surfaces, thus creating a 3D solid. The command start with the prompt, the surface to thicken. Command thicken, select surface with the thicken and selection. When specifying thickness to apply to selected surfaces, it must be positive or negative. Specify thickness and the value, or note if you're applying the command, there are several self-intersections of the volume, and the operation may fail. If it fails, we may try a negative value. Alright, summary. We include the chapter of the main commands of the editing solid surfaces. We start with the composing objects, union, subtract, intersect, editing them with the representative of the slice command with the cut object, fillet, and chamfer commands. Using the fillet, edge, and chamfer edge commands, fillet in a property, quick properties command to chamfer the creation of the parameters. Follow with the solid edit that allows you to apply with the multiple operation feathers, edge, and volumes. Create linear objects from 3D, which offset edge, subtract of the curve. Extract the curve commands to project linear objects of solid surfaces of the projected geometry, and imprint commands. Finally, we present with the thickening command to add thickness to the surface. Next chapter, we will present all commands to acquire 3D objects. Chapter 8, Acquiring 3D Model. Testing.